In this video, we're going to be breaking down 3 World Cup 2026 games happening on June 27, 2026, and providing you with picks for all these games. As usual, stick around until the end because you won't want to miss out on anything. There's something about the way tournament football works that makes the third group game the most dangerous trap for bettors, because most people look at a 0-2 team that's already been sent home and think easy money without considering the deeper mechanics at play. England sit at the top of Group L with a record of 1-0 and 4 points, and Thomas Tuchel knows exactly what's at stake here, because a win at MetLife Stadium locks down first place and opens up the softer side of the bracket heading into the knockout rounds. That matters more than most people realize. Panama, sitting at 0-2 with 0 points and 0 goals scored in this tournament, are already eliminated. Their bags are essentially packed. And here's the thing about a team that's already been told it's going home. They don't play like a team protecting a lead or sitting in a low block with purpose the way Ghana did against England in that 0-0 draw in Boston. Ghana had genuine knockout round aspirations on the line, so they planted 11 bodies behind the ball with 79% focus and fought for every blade of grass. Panama, with nothing tangible to gain, won't replicate that same level of organized, desperate defending. Now, Tuchel's squad came into this World Cup having won all 8 qualifying matches without conceding a single goal, the first European team in history to accomplish that. That defensive foundation was always there, but what really jumped off the screen in Dallas was the attacking firepower. England pumped 22 shots at Croatia, put 11 of them on target, and had Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, and Marcus Rashford all find the net in a 4-2 victory that could have been even wider if not for Dominik Livakovic standing on his head in the Croatian goal. Kane's second goal that night, a header from a Declan Rice corner, equaled Gary Lineker's all-time England record of 10 World Cup goals. He didn't fly from Munich to New Jersey to let that record stay tied. The massive development for this specific match is that Bukayo Saka, who's been managed carefully off the bench in both group games due to an Achilles issue from his club season at Arsenal, has been declared fit to start by Tuchel himself. Tuchel's exact words were that Saka is free of pain and ready to go, which means England will have their full attacking cavalry on the pitch from kickoff for the first time this tournament. On the other side, Panama are missing the one player who could have given them a creative heartbeat. Adalberto Carrasquilla, the Pumas UNAM playmaker who won CONCACAF Male Player of the Year, tore his left adductor in the Liga MX final back in May and hasn't played a single minute this World Cup. Reports out of the Panama camp say the injury is worse than originally thought, and he's still training separately from the group. Their captain, Anibal Godoy, who holds the national record with 160 caps, has managed just 1 minute of action across 2 matches because of his own fitness limitations. When your creative engine and your spiritual leader are both effectively unavailable, the structural problems compound in a hurry. Panama's 5-4-1 formation under Thomas Christiansen kept things tight against Ghana and Croatia, yes. But those were both narrow 1-0 defeats, and those results came against teams with far less attacking depth than what England can throw at you. Consider what happened when Panama faced a genuine heavyweight in their pre-tournament build-up. Brazil dismantled them 6-2 in a friendly on May 31st. The longer a game stays competitive, the longer Panama can stay compact. But once the first goal goes in, and it almost certainly will given that England have scored first in 12 of their last 13 competitive matches, that compact shape starts to unravel because chasing the game against this level of talent is a different exercise entirely. Game total over 3 goals is our first pick for this matchup. England's frustration against Ghana has been talked about all week like it was some kind of crisis, but a closer look at what actually happened in Boston tells a very different story about the goal-scoring potential here. The 3 Lions fired 19 shots and generated 1.28 expected goals against a Ghana side that came to survive, not compete. Nico O'Reilly rattled the crossbar. Mark Guehi had a header cleared off the line in stoppage time. Kane somehow skied a rebound from 6 yards out. Those are the kinds of near misses that correct themselves, and if even half of those finishing sequences break differently, we're having a completely different conversation about England's attack right now. Against Croatia, the finishing wasn't an issue at all. Kane buried 2, Bellingham drove into the box and ripped one into the far corner just 2 minutes into the second half, and Rashford sealed it late with a gorgeous combination involving Saka off the bench. That's 22 shots, 11 on target, and 4 goals against a Croatian side ranked 11th in the world. Now fold in the Saka factor. This will be his first start of the World Cup, and in both substitute appearances, he looked like a player who desperately wanted more minutes. He created Rashford's goal against Croatia with a sharp assist, and he forced a brilliant save from Ghana's Benjamin Asare in his limited cameo. Starting Saka from the opening whistle gives England another one-on-one threat on the right flank, the kind of player who can isolate a center-back and create something out of nothing, and that's a dimension they haven't had from minute one yet. Panama's defensive effort, while admirable, has to be viewed with context. Their 0.62 expected goals against Croatia tells you everything about their ability to actually threaten, and that number was against a Croatian attack that doesn't have anywhere near the depth England brings. The Canal men registered just one shot on target against Croatia and haven't put the ball in the net once in this entire tournament. When you're unable to score, you can't force the opponent to respect your counter, and that means England will push higher, commit more bodies forward, and create overloads that a back five simply can't handle for 90 minutes. Here's where conditions matter too. MetLife Stadium is an open-air venue in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and the forecast calls for temperatures in the upper 70s with humidity and a chance of afternoon thunderstorms. Heat and humidity sap legs, particularly in the second half, and Panama's squad carries one of the oldest average ages in the tournament at 30 years old. When legs start to go heavy around the 60th or 70th minute, that's when the gaps between the lines widen and the substitutes off England's bench become lethal. Tuchel can turn to Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, Morgan Rogers, Anthony Gordon, or Ibaraki Eze, all of them capable of stretching a tired defense. Think about what happened in the second half against Croatia when England scored 3 goals after the break with fresh energy, and Bellingham's 47th minute strike setting the tone. Yes, there's a fair counter-argument that Panama's defensive shape held firm enough to concede just 1 goal in each of their first 2 games. But Ghana's winner came in the 95th minute, a sign that Panama's resistance was cracking at the very end, and Croatia's goal from Ante Budimir in the 54th minute opened a stretch where Panama never looked like leveling. The structural discipline erodes as the tournament wears on, especially when the result doesn't change anything for your tournament life. Players mentally check out, not intentionally, but the edge dulls just enough for a team like England to punish them multiple times. Kane, who scored 36 goals in 31 Bundesliga matches for Bayern Munich this past season, is chasing history with 10 World Cup goals for England, one behind the overall England record he wants to break. Bellingham showed against Croatia that he's capable of taking over a match from the number 10 position. Rashford's late strike proved he can still punish from the left. And Saka starting for the first time gives this attack a completeness it hasn't had yet. All of that offensive talent pushing against a team that's playing its last game, missing its best midfielder, and running on fumes after an emotionally draining group stage points toward a scoreline that climbs past where most people might expect it to land. Both teams to score no is our second pick for this matchup. Quick commercial break. You know the deal. If you want to get our exclusive best sport picks to take things to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Go check it out. Commercial break over. Now back to the game. Something tells you when a matchup matters before either team even kicks a ball, and this one carries that weight in every possible way. 2 nations that have never faced each other in the entire history of international football are about to collide under the lights at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, with first place in Group K on the line. Portugal sit 2 points behind Colombia heading into the final match day, meaning only a victory will flip the group on its head and hand the Seleção top spot. That matters more than people realize. The winner of this group draws a third-place team from a handful of weaker groups in the round of 32, while the runner-up gets slotted directly against the Group L runner-up, which is currently projected to be Ghana. It's the difference between a clear runway into the knockout rounds and an immediate dogfight. And here's the thing, Portugal are the reigning UEFA Nations League champions, a team that beat Spain in the 2025 final, a squad that just dismantled Uzbekistan by 5-0 in their last outing. That Uzbekistan match was a statement game for Roberto Martinez's side, a full-throttle response to a sluggish opening draw against DR Congo where the Seleção looked disjointed and Cristiano Ronaldo couldn't find the net. The 41-year-old answered every single critic with a first-half brace, becoming the first man in history to score at 6 different World Cup tournaments. That kind of moment doesn't just pad a stat sheet, it rewires the mentality of an entire squad. You could see it in the body language, the way the ball moved faster, the way the pressing intensified after that first goal. Portugal's midfield trio is arguably the best collection of central players at this tournament. Bruno Fernandes, who just earned Premier League Player of the Season at Manchester United, is the creative heartbeat sitting between two Paris Saint-Germain starters in Vitinha and João Neves, the same Neves who opened the scoring in the DR Congo match with a clinical header. That PSG connection brings a level of understanding and tempo control that most international teams simply can't replicate. Colombia, for all their undeniable quality, showed some vulnerability before this tournament even began. They lost 3-1 to France in a March friendly and then fell 2-1 to Croatia just days later. Those are two teams with similar European pedigree to Portugal, and Colombia struggled to contain the pressure in both matches. Nestor Lorenzo's squad has been terrific in the group stage, don't get that twisted, beating Uzbekistan 3-1 and grinding out a disciplined 1-0 win over DR Congo. But there's a subtle difference between managing a game when you know qualification is the primary goal and going toe-to-toe with a squad that genuinely believes it can win the entire tournament. Colombia have already punched their ticket to the round of 32. That security can be a double-edged sword, because while it removes desperation, it can also soften the edge just enough to matter against a team that needs all 3 points. Lorenzo himself acknowledged the scale of this challenge, calling Ronaldo a juggernaut and admitting Portugal are genuine World Cup contenders. When a manager frames the opposition that way before kickoff, you know where the respect and the fear lives. Portugal's backline has also sharpened up. Ruben Dias, who missed the opener through injury, returned to partner Renato Veiga in the second match, and the defense immediately tightened, conceding 0 goals across 90 minutes. João Cancelo's overlapping runs from right back stretch the pitch in a way that keeps opposing defenses pinned, and Nuno Mendes on the opposite flank gives Portugal width that few teams can match. This is a squad built to control a football match from whistle to whistle, and the motivation to win the group and secure an easier path forward should push them to play with a level of urgency that Colombia, safely through already, might not match. Game total over 2.5 goals is our first pick for this matchup. There's something about the setup of this game that screams fireworks, even if the market is slightly leaning the other way. Consider the profile of both teams in this tournament so far. Colombia have scored 4 goals in 2 World Cup matches, finding the net in each game, while Portugal have put up 6 goals across their 2 outings. That's 10 combined goals from 4 games between these two squads, and neither side has shown any interest in sitting back. Now zoom out a little further. 6 of Colombia's last 8 games across all competitions have produced 3 or more combined goals. That's not a fluke or a cherry-picked window, that's a pattern baked into how this team operates under Lorenzo. They press high, they transition fast, and when their fullbacks push up, particularly Daniel Munoz from right back, it creates massive pockets of space behind them that skilled attackers can exploit. Munoz, a Crystal Palace defender, has been a revelation at this World Cup, scoring in both of Colombia's group matches, including a volley from 6 yards out against Uzbekistan and a deflected finish against DR Congo. He's essentially playing as a second winger when Colombia have the ball, and that leaves real estate on the flanks that Portugal are tailor-made to attack. On the other side, 3 of Portugal's last 4 matches have seen both teams find the net. DR Congo managed to equalize against the Seleção in that opening draw, heading home from a cross to cancel out Neves's early header. Even in the qualifier where Portugal walloped Armenia 9-1, both teams still got on the score sheet. And in a 2-2 draw with Hungary back in October, it was the same story, both sides finding ways through. The matchup between the 2 left-sided fullbacks tells a story of its own. Nuno Mendes and Munoz are both attack-minded players who love to push forward, meaning each team's defensive flanks will be stretched for most of the 90 minutes. When you have 2 sets of fullbacks bombing forward, the channels behind them become highways, and wingers like Luis Diaz on one side and Pedro Neto on the other are exactly the type of players who thrive in those transitional moments. Then there's the weather factor. Miami in late June is a furnace, with temperatures expected to feel like 100 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff and humidity pushing near 70%. That kind of heat saps legs, particularly in the second half, and tired defenders make mistakes. We've seen it throughout this tournament, late goals coming in bunches as teams physically fade. Portugal have shown a willingness to use their bench aggressively, bringing on Rafael Leao, who thumped home the 5th goal against Uzbekistan, and Francisco Conceição, both of whom can terrorize exhausted back lines. Colombia likewise have Jaminton Campaz, who headed home a late goal against Uzbekistan off the bench, and Cucho Hernandez, who set up that goal with a dangerous cross from the right. Both managers have weapons waiting to be deployed when the game opens up, and in conditions like these, it will open up. Neither team can afford to just sit in a low block either. Portugal need to win to top the group. Colombia, while already through, want to maintain their position at the summit and avoid a potentially tougher knockout draw. That dual motivation creates a game state where both sides will push forward and take risks, which is the exact recipe for a match that produces goals from multiple sources. Colombia's attack with Diaz, the Bayern Munich winger who scored 7 qualifying goals, and the playmaking touch of James Rodriguez, who won the Golden Boot at the 2014 World Cup, gives Los Cafeteros the tools to break down any defense at least once. And Portugal, with 10 World Cup goals from Ronaldo and the creative engine of Fernandes feeding him, are not going to be kept off the score sheet by a defense that conceded 3 times to France just 3 months ago. Both teams to score yes is our second pick for this matchup. There's something almost poetic about this match, and it stretches well beyond the pitch at Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday night. Algeria and Austria carry identical group stage records of 1-0-1 into the final day of Group J play, both locked on 3 points, separated only by goal difference in a group Argentina has already wrapped up. But the real texture of this fixture, the element that turns a simple table calculation into one of the most layered matchups of the entire tournament, goes back 44 years to the Spanish heat of 1982. That was the year Austria beat Algeria 2-0 in the World Cup group stage. And then, in a match that became forever known as the disgrace of Gijón, Austria and West Germany quietly played out a 1-0 result that guaranteed both European teams advanced, while Algeria went home despite having beaten the West Germans themselves. That scandal was so egregious it literally rewrote the rules of the World Cup, forcing FIFA to schedule all final group matches at simultaneous kickoff times from that point forward. Fast forward to Kansas City in 2026, and the universe has served up one of the most delicious ironies in tournament history, because a shared result in this match would almost certainly send both teams through. Austria's superior goal difference means a stalemate locks them into second place behind Argentina. Algeria, meanwhile, would bank 4 points as a third-place finisher, a threshold the Opta supercomputer rates as practically a guarantee for advancement into the expanded round of 32. Both coaching staffs have done the math, and neither one needs a calculator to see what's sitting right in front of them. Think about this from a tactical perspective for a moment. Ralf Rangnick, Austria's manager, built his entire reputation on gegenpressing, on relentless energy and transitions, on the kind of football that shaped RB Leipzig and influenced half the coaching trees in the modern game. And yet before this fixture he publicly stated, in his own words, that it's certainly an advantage that at the beginning of the game, we already know exactly which result we need. That's not a man who's going to send his team out guns blazing into a match where recklessness could end their tournament faster than a quiet point. He then added that the priority is to make sure in the last game that we are definitely there when it goes into the knockout phase, which is about as close to a tactical tell as any manager will ever give you at a World Cup. On the opposite sideline, Vladimir Petkovic is no stranger to this kind of tournament chess. He spent 7 years managing Switzerland through a World Cup and multiple European Championship campaigns, losing just 3 of his 41 matches as Algeria's boss, and he understands perfectly well that his team's dream of reaching the knockout rounds for only the second time in their history doesn't demand a win here, just a result. And honestly, the form heading into this match screams equilibrium. Over their last 6 fixtures, both sides posted the same record of 4-1-1 with matching points per game averages of 2.17. They beat the same opponent, Jordan, and lost to the same opponent, Argentina, in eerily similar fashion. Austria took an early lead against Jordan through Romano Schmid's long-range strike before needing a late own goal off the head of Yazan Al-Arab and a Marko Arnautovic penalty deep in the 12th minute of stoppage time to seal a 3-1 result that was far tighter than the scoreline suggests. Algeria fell behind to Jordan before Nadir Ben Bouali's header and Amin Ghairi's scrappy close-range finish completed a second-half comeback for a 2-1 win, their first World Cup victory since 2014. Neither performance screamed dominance. When you zoom out and look at how both sides were handled by Argentina, the gap between them all but vanishes. Austria losing 2-0 in Dallas, Algeria falling 3-0 in Kansas City. Prediction markets capture this deadlock perfectly, pricing the three possible outcomes within a handful of percentage points of one another, with the stalemate sitting right between both teams' win probabilities. Two evenly matched sides, both carrying the tactical intelligence of experienced managers who've navigated this exact tournament math before, in a scenario where patience and pragmatism are rewarded more than ambition. Austria have won 10 of their last 13 matches across all competitions, yet the loss that matters most, the 2-0 to Argentina, exposed their struggle to break down organized defensive blocks. Algeria showed real fight coming from behind against Jordan, but their captain Riyad Mahrez, now 35 and playing his final World Cup, looked a step slower than the version that terrorized Premier League defenses during his English football days. Neither side holds a knockout punch the other can't absorb, and when the risk of throwing that punch is a tournament-ending counterattack, both corners have every reason to feel out the fight rather than force it. The draw is our first pick for this matchup. The attacking arsenals on both sides of this match have been quietly gutted before a ball is even kicked, and that's the foundation for everything that follows. Algeria will be without Mohamed Amoura, the Wolfsburg striker who netted 10 of the team's 24 qualifying goals, nearly half their entire offensive output across the Kiev campaign. A thigh injury sustained during training ruled him out of the Jordan match, and every indication is that he remains unavailable for this one. Losing a player who accounted for that proportion of your qualifying goals isn't just a personnel inconvenience, it's a structural fracture, because Algeria's entire attacking geometry was built around his movement, his pace, and his ability to stretch defenses vertically behind the back line. Austria has absorbed their own significant blow as Christoph Baumgartner, who finished the Bundesliga season as RB Leipzig's top scorer with 13 goals and 8 assists, was ruled out before the tournament even began with a thigh injury of his own. His manager called it very bitter news when the diagnosis dropped, and the on-field evidence from the games played without him tells its own story. And look at what actually happened when these two sides tried to attack against top-level opposition in this tournament. Austria generated an expected goals figure of just 0.5 across the full 90 minutes against Argentina, managing only a single shot on target the entire match, a speculative free kick attempt from Marcel Sabitzer that was comfortably parried. They entered the final third 56 times and walked away with nothing meaningful to show for it, and that's against a defense that was actively trying to counter them, not one content to sit back. Algeria's offensive output against those same Argentines was, if anything, worse, mustering just one shot on target across the entire fixture according to FIFA's official match stats, a number so low it became a historic footnote. These are two teams that couldn't consistently manufacture danger against a high-caliber backline, and now they're facing each other in a context where neither has reason to leave themselves exposed. The defensive profiles reinforce the picture from every angle. Austria conceded just 4 goals across 8 qualifying matches while topping their UEFA group, a record of stinginess that traces directly to how their backline is organized, with captain David Alaba marshalling the center alongside Kevin Danso. Algeria posted 4 clean sheets in their 6 matches leading into the tournament, including a disciplined 0-0 draw against Uruguay and a 1-0 upset of the Netherlands, results that demonstrated Petkovic's side can grind out outcomes without needing fireworks. Both coaching staffs clearly value defensive solidity as a non-negotiable starting point, and when you pair that with the mutual incentive to protect a point rather than chase 3, the offensive urgency that typically creates goals in World Cup fixtures evaporates. Think about it this way: if you're an attacker in this match and you know your coaching staff would be perfectly happy with a scoreless final whistle, how hard are you really going to press into a risky position when the ball turns over? Even the conditions tilt the scale toward a quiet affair. Kansas City is expected to bring sunny and humid conditions with temperatures hovering in the upper 70s and low 80s Fahrenheit for a 10 p.m. kickoff, the kind of late June heat that saps legs and makes teams think twice about the full-throttle pressing that might otherwise crack the game open. And while the opening round of the 2026 World Cup averaged over 3 goals per match, that inflation was driven heavily by lopsided results involving overmatched sides like Curacao conceding 7 to Germany, Tunisia shipping 5 to Sweden, and Qatar giving up 6 to Canada. When you strip away the mismatches and look at competitive final day group games between similarly ranked teams who both know the permutations before kickoff, the ball tends to spend more time in midfield than in the back of the net. Algeria's double pivot of Hicham Bouraoui and Nabil Bentaleb is built to control tempo, not to create chaos. Austria's Nicolas Seiwald and Xaver Schlager in central midfield are cut from the same cloth, disciplined, positionally intelligent, and far more interested in winning the ball back than playing hero ball. With both teams' most explosive attackers watching from the sideline or the treatment table, and with the game's strategic logic pointing squarely toward containment rather than ambition, the finishing product simply won't be there. Game total under 2 goals is our second pick for this matchup. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.